how stability today writes the rules of tomorrow. Stability feels like an achievement. Order feels like progress. But every stable moment leaves instructions behind. This matters now because modern finance treats stability as an endpoint. Markets are calmed, systems are secured, risks are reduced, and once stability returns, attention moves on. Yet stability is not neutral. It reshapes behavior, incentives, and expectations long after the moment passes. Stability is not merely the absence of turbulence. It is an environment that teaches, an environment whose lessons are absorbed by every participant operating inside it, shaping how they assess risk, allocate capital, and imagine what the future might look like. To understand how stability writes the future, we need to see it not as rest, but as programming. When systems operate calmly, they teach participants what is acceptable, what is rewarded, what is unnecessary. Stability becomes a teacher, quietly instructing everyone how to behave next. It tells participants which risks to ignore, which safeguards are redundant, which innovations are premature. These lessons are not written down. They are encoded into incentives, into professional habits, into the institutional memory that guides decisions long after the specific conditions that created the stability have passed. London understands this dynamic instinctively. The city has seen how long periods of calm normalize specific structures. Safeguards become assumptions. Interventions become precedents. Boundaries soften where nothing challenges them. Over time, stability stops protecting flexibility and starts defining limits. What was once a careful choice about how to manage a fragile system becomes simply the way things are done. Not because it remains optimal, but because nothing has happened to suggest otherwise. At first, this feels positive. Confidence holds. Activity resumes. Fear fades. But beneath the calm, something permanent is forming. Participants align their strategies to the stable environment. Risk models adapt. Capital flows reinforce existing pathways. What works during stability becomes embedded as the correct way forward. The system is not just operating in the calm. It is being shaped by it, learning from it, and gradually developing a character that reflects it. This is the first reveal. Stability does not freeze the system. It trains it. And the lessons learned during calm quietly shape what the system will allow and resist when conditions inevitably change. Once stability settles in, behavior begins adjusting almost automatically. Participants stop preparing for disruption and start optimizing for continuity. Strategies are refined, perform well under calm conditions. Safeguards are treated as permanent features rather than temporary buffers. Over time, the system forgets that stability was achieved and begins assuming it is guaranteed. London has seen this shift many times. During extended calm, incentives quietly change. Risk-taking adapts to what feels safe rather than what might be necessary later. Capital concentrates in structures that benefit most from predictability. Innovation slows where stability rewards repetition more than experimentation. New entrants arrive and learn from a system that appears to have always worked this way, absorbing its assumptions without questioning their origins. This is how stability becomes instructional. It teaches markets what not to worry about. It teaches institutions where not to look. It teaches participants which questions no longer feel urgent. As these lessons repeat, flexibility erodes. The system grows efficient but narrow, resilient but specialized. It performs well in familiar conditions and poorly outside them. Stability begins shaping not just outcomes, but imagination. Participants struggle to envision scenarios that stable conditions have made to feel abstract and distant, even as those scenarios grow more relevant with each passing cycle. This is a hidden cost, because when stability lasts long enough, it does more than calm volatility. It rewrites the rules of acceptable behavior, and once those rules are internalized, changing them feels unnatural. Even when the environment demands it, the conflict emerges when stability begins resisting change. As conditions outside the system shift, the structure inside remains fixed. New risks appear that were never accounted for. New opportunities emerge that do not fit existing models. Yet the system hesitates. What once preserved order now blocks adaptation. London recognizes this tension immediately. Extended stability creates confidence in existing rules. Institutions defend what has worked. Processes are optimized for known conditions. Deviations feel unnecessary, even dangerous. The system begins protecting stability itself rather than the purpose stability once served. This creates a subtle but powerful resistance. Innovation is filtered out early. Warnings feel exaggerated. Signals that challenge calm are softened or ignored. The system grows comfortable inside its own success, and comfort delays response. By the time pressure becomes undeniable, adjustment feels disruptive rather than prudent. Stability, once an achievement, has become a constraint. This is the critical moment, because systems shaped by long calm are not fragile due to weakness. They are fragile due to rigidity. They do not fail because they are chaotic. They fail because they cannot bend quickly enough. London understands that this is where futures diverge. Systems that treat stability as a condition to revisit regain flexibility. Systems that treat stability as an identity defend it until it breaks. And the longer stability resists change, the sharper the eventual correction becomes. The climax arrives when stability is forced to confront its own limits. A moment comes when maintaining order costs more than allowing change. The system feels the strain. Confidence wavers. Pressure accumulates at the edges. Stability can no longer be preserved without adaptation. London understands this reckoning well. Resolution does not come from abandoning stability. It comes from redefining it. Stability must be rebuilt to include movement. Flexibility must be restored deliberately. Rules are adjusted. Incentives shift. The system relearns how to absorb stress rather than avoid it. This is a resolution of stability, shaping the future. Calm becomes dynamic again. Order regains elasticity. Resilience replaces rigidity. The system stops treating its own rules as permanent facts and starts treating them as choices. Choices that can be revisited, revised, and rewritten to serve the world as it actually is, not the world as it was when the rules were first written. The lesson is enduring. Stability is not the absence of change. It is a capacity to change without collapse. Every calm period writes rules for tomorrow, and those rules must be revisited before they harden into limits. Otherwise, stability becomes a very force that prevents survival. London's lasting strength has never been freezing the system in place. It has been knowing when to let it move again. Subscribe to join the journey. The subtlest and most important implication of stability's instructional power is that it changes what participants believe is possible. Not just what they're permitted to do or what is incentivized, but what they can actually imagine. Systems operating in extended calm lose exposure to alternatives. They stop encountering evidence that things can work differently, that markets can behave unexpectedly, that structures built around predictability can fail in unpredictable ways. This loss of imaginative range is not visible. It does not show up in risk metrics or performance dashboards, but it quietly reduces the system's capacity to recognize threats before they materialize and opportunities before they close. This is why the discipline of challenging stability is so valuable and so rare. It requires asking uncomfortable questions during comfortable times, pointing to places where calm has ossified into assumption, where safeguards have become taken for granted, where the absence of recent disruption is being mistaken for the absence of future disruption. Those questions feel unnecessary when everything is working. They feel disruptive to the very calm that the system is proud of having achieved. Yet they are precisely the questions that distinguish systems capable of long-term endurance from those that are merely fortunate during favorable cycles. London's enduring advantage is not simply that it has experienced more stability than other centers. It is that it has developed, over many generations, a reflexive practice of questioning the stability it enjoys, of recognizing that every period of calm is simultaneously writing the rules for the next disruption and creating an obligation to examine whether those rules will serve well when tested. That reflexive questioning, applied consistently and without fanfare, is what allows stability to remain a resource rather than becoming a constraint. It is the institutional practice that turns calm from a destination into a platform, a foundation for which the system can reach toward what comes next. How